what we're doing in our business is just pouring gas on the direct to seller fire, pouring gas on the acquisitions fire, because we know that this is where the marketplace is going and that these opportunities are going to become less available, less abundant.
Welcome to the Multifamily Wealth Podcast. I'm your host, Axel Ragnarsson, and on this show, I dissect how seasoned multifamily investors started, built, and scaled their businesses.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another quick solo episode here on the Multifamily Wealth Podcast. In this episode, I'm going to be chatting about a bit of an interesting take, I guess, that I have as it relates to the overall real estate market and just the real estate sector in general. And I'm going to, obviously talk about multifamily here because that's what this podcast is about. So I'm going to narrow my comments as it relates to multifamily. But fundamentally speaking, I think it applies broadly to most asset classes within commercial real estate. And a belief that I have, and it's been something I've talked to other people that I know, just in general that I work with, both internally at Aligned Real Estate Partners and the people that I'm working with that are adjacent to our business, mortgage brokers, real estate brokers, et cetera. And it's this concept that I have, or this opinion that I have, that the era of mom and pop operated multifamily real estate, or real estate in general, is starting to come to an end. And I'm not going to assign a timeline to that because it's really hard to define what I even mean when I say mom and pop. But another way of putting it is, over the next 3, 5, 7, 10 years, there will be, as a percentage of the overall marketplace specific to multifamily real estate, the percentage of properties that are owned by, call it, unsophisticated owners, or owners that don't have training, or owners that don't understand how to effectively manage, is going to continue to decrease, eventually to the point to where it's hardly even a component of the real estate sector. And the reason that I wanted to do an episode about this and share this opinion is that we have immense urgency in our business to pour gasoline on the fire as it relates to sourcing deals, because the window to buy truly mismanaged real estate, in my opinion, is going to continue closing. And I think there are a handful of reasons for that. One, if you bought rental property in the 80s or the 90s or the early 2000s, or even up until 2010, there just really wasn't that much education available as it relates to how to effectively underwrite, effectively manage, effectively sell, effectively oversee construction, etc. Basically, how to effectively be a good multifamily owner, right? To be a sophisticated owner, to do things properly. And over the last 10, 15 years, specifically with the introduction of websites like Bigger Pockets, just real estate education being much more plentiful as it relates to how much of it you can find online, whether it's YouTube, whether it's podcasts, whether it's blogs, just the overall increase in attention on alternative investing fundamentally, and then real estate investing as well. It's just increased the baseline level of intelligence and baseline level of competence that individuals who are operating in this business have. And it's made the market more efficient. I mean, fundamentally, it just has, right? And especially when you get to larger assets, when you start looking at 100 plus assets, 100 plus unit assets in secondary, primary markets, like it's becoming a pretty efficient marketplace. And I mean, that's part of the reason why we still look for these smaller deals, these 10 to 50 unit deals, is because we still can find the owners who bought this in the mid 2000s or in the late 90s or what have you, that just are not operating it well. And they've never really developed that baseline understanding of how to effectively manage and operate multifamily real estate. And that's where we can find that edge, or that inefficiency in the marketplace. But as time passes, and as the majority of this real estate is transferred into the hands of 20-somethings, 30-somethings, and 40-somethings who are aware of the just sheer abundance of education available to help somebody like them actually operate well, these properties are not going to be as readily available from an acquisition standpoint, right? The deals where you find a property that have rents at 60, 70% of market for absolutely no conceivable reason, outside of just the owner just has left them there, and they don't really understand what's going on. They haven't really operated effectively. They've let the property go into a state of mismanagement because they've got the rent so low and there's tons of deferred maintenance, et cetera, et cetera. I think those days are going to start to be behind us in the next 3 to 5 years, because of the fact that this market's going to continue to mature and to become more efficient. So what we're doing in our business is just pouring gas on the direct to seller fire, pouring gas on the acquisitions fire, because we know that this is where the marketplace is going, and that these opportunities are going to become less available, less abundant. Now, am I saying that distressed real estate transactions won't be happening in 3 to 5 years? No, there's all kinds of reason for distress. There's, death, divorce, there's partnership dissolution, there's using the wrong type of debt, right? That's independent of operational distress, right? Using the wrong debt forces distress as well. There's all kinds of reasons that people sell outside of the fact that they just aren't operating it well, and those aren't necessarily going to change. I mean, those are always be a part of the game. But as it relates to you're buying a property from an owner that just doesn't really understand what they're doing, those days I think are going to be behind us, and I think it's going to come sooner than we think, just because of all of the education that's out there. So if you're going to take something from this podcast, I hope it's just take more action on whatever you're doing right now. And if you're pursuing deals that are primarily owned by these types of individuals, understand that today is probably going to be the most opportunity you see until you're out of the business, right? I think starting today, like I think it's a similar concept as like today's the youngest you're ever going to be. Well, today's also going to be the highest number of mom and pop unsophisticated owners in the real estate business until we're all out of this game. Everybody listening to this podcast. So as a result, you should act accordingly, right? So hopefully this is a kick in the butt for you if you are thinking about doing some direct mail, or you're thinking about doing some more manual prospecting or marketing to get in front of sellers, or you haven't called a broker in a while and shared your criteria, or whatever it is, right? In terms of developing your acquisitions funnel, hopefully this develops a sense of urgency around that. And quick little plug for our 7-day multifamily program as well. Spend a lot of time in that program talking about how to build your acquisitions funnel, build your team, also how to actually operate real estate like the professionals, like the pros. And there's all kinds of content in there around how we actually asset manage our 500 plus unit portfolio. So don't become one of those owners, but if you're targeting those owners, tons of content in there as well. Link to the landing pages in the description if you haven't checked it out already. We're receiving loads of incredible feedback from everybody that's taken action and hopped into that program. So check it out if you haven't already, and you have the desire to start or scale your multifamily portfolio. Hopefully this message, or I should say this podcast, was a kick in the butt for you to go out there and actually start doing a little bit more as it relates to sourcing deals. And if you enjoyed the podcast, also consider leaving a rating and review, as it helps us get noticed by more folks. But thanks again for listening as always, and I will catch you guys on the next episode.